How's it going, bros? Today we're going to be talking about YouTuber mobile games. I figured when I was poking around the App Store looking for these that I'd only find like 3 or 4 of them to talk about from what I could remember as a kid. And really I was only making this so I could talk about PewDiePie's Tubbo Simulator.
What? You never played Tubbo Simulator?
But turns out I was still kind of half right, because you can only play about 4 of them. The majority of YouTube games that did exist have now been since lost to time forever, with the only proof of their existence being like 10-year-old YouTube videos filmed on someone's Nokia phone. I'll still try and talk about them, but it's obviously going to be a lot less fun since, you know, I can't play them. And only official ones, by the way, so I am not going to be looking at the 10 trillion Markiplier dating sims. I know, I'm sorry. So I feel like the former biggest channel on the whole site might be a good place to start. I was a massive PewDiePie fan as a kid. I started on the Funny Moments compilations and then was hooked on the Slender Man gameplay from there. Which meant, of course, that any game he released, I was definitely going to sink at least 50 hours into. Of course, the biggest one was Tubbo Simulator, which I am almost entirely sure was responsible for my lack of any passing grades in year 9. But before we get to that one, there's actually another 3 that he did that not as many people talk about. The newest one he's done is called Pixelings, which I have never heard of in my life. I guess that one must have come out like around the time when I wasn't watching as much YouTube because I was like failing school. I was surprised that this one is an RPG, but it's good because your pixelings attack automatically, which means you don't actually have to play an RPG. He also had another one called Pewd that was taken off the App Store for being too inappropriate, apparently. Okay, his first ever game though was PewDiePie Legend of the Brofist, which I played the crap out of as a kid. This one's a fully fledged 2D platformer complete with like 1,000,000 levels, fully voice acted cutscenes. There's a bunch of collectibles and items that I can't see because Apple won't let me get rid of this fucking gray line at the bottom of the screen, and you can play as Markiplier.
A phone call? Now's not really a good time.
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier.
Not that I'm fucking IGN or anything, but the amount of variety in the earlier levels is honestly really impressive. Literally, you start the game, then you're jumping across moving cars on a highway, then Markiplier shows up in a jet in level 2, then you're in a plane level dodging falling whales from the sky and fighting a flying tank, then in level 4 you fight a T-Rex in a subway. I didn't have time to play too much of it for this video because mum wanted me out of the basement, but I remember this one kept me entertained for so many hours on interstate trips with my parents because playing PewDiePie games was more important to me than making memories with my family. The controls are a little janky on mobile, but Markiplier does Gangnam Style, so not a whole lot to complain about. It reminds me a lot quality-wise of the Angry Video Game Nerd games, which I would also be talking about if they had mobile ports, but both of them are super impressive for being YouTuber games. But I know you all just want me to talk about Tubbo Simulator, so...
What? You haven't tried Tubbo Simulator, seriously? After 50 million outros? Maya!
I remember I first played Tubbo Simulator within like the first 2 years that I started YouTube, and I honestly preferred it to the real thing, because at least in the game, I could be successful. I have like these vague memories of sitting in the stalls in the school bathroom at lunchtime to play it. I didn't even need to shit, I just wanted to keep playing it. Our school had a ban on phones, to clarify. It wasn't that people didn't want to hang out with me, okay? Holy shit, I cannot tell you how many hours I put into this game. What a complete waste of time. Between this and Tiny Tower and The Simpsons Tapped Out, I genuinely did nothing of value for the first 17 years of my life. Your main goal in this one is an endless cycle of making money to upgrade your equipment and decorate your room so you can be better at making money so you can upgrade your equipment and decorate your room. All of the items you buy in-game to spruce up your space take in-game time to arrive, which means you can come back the next day and have like 5 million things to click on, or you can speed it up using the game's in-game currency bucks, which obviously, like every other mobile game ever made, you can either earn by doing missions or, you know, busting out your mum's credit card. There are quests that you can do that give you brains that upgrade a skill tree so you can be better at your job. You can shove one of his pugs down a pachinko game to shave a whopping 2 seconds off the shipping time. And you can visit other people's rooms online so you can see how insignificant and shit you are. Your other currency are views, which, just like in real life, you get from making videos that you can then use to buy new items and make the place look a little less accurate to my real life work environment. And my original room in this game was fucking awesome, okay? I have zero proof of this, but it was way better than yours. I can confirm as a full-time YouTuber that, yeah, this is a pretty accurate experience. The entire job is just never leaving your room and waiting for Amazon packages to arrive. Nowadays, though, Tubbo Simulator, like, isn't really my thing. I mean, none of the games where, like, the goal is just to endlessly play it really are anymore. Aside from, like, Tiny Tower, but that's because that one's, like, the GOAT. But they definitely go down in quality from here because the next ones we're looking at are from the Annoying Orange. So, unfortunately, there are two annoying orange games. The first is like one of those flash games like Learn to Fly or Toss the Turtle, if you've ever played one of those, where your objective is just to launch a random fruit as far as you can, but with a baseball element that doesn't work half the time. With the end goal of brutally murdering the fruit you are given by dropping them in the blender or electrocuting them. Like, if they don't at least die horribly, the game will penalize you for it. All of this while Orange sits in the corner and insults you the entire time.
Yikes! Even I could have done better, and I don't have hands!
You would think that would make you not want to play the game, right? Because that would mean you'd have to listen to Orange talk. But even if you don't do anything, he still won't shut the fuck up.
Are you gonna do anything?
There are power-ups that you can get to make the game slightly less shit, but there's not really a sense of progression like you would have in those other games. Also, if you miss any of the shots, the game counts down until you run out of balls and then asks you to pay for it to keep playing. Oh, fuck. The other one, Kitchen Carnage, looks considerably crustier. It's a paper toss clone where you throw fruit straight into a blender, which is very hard to do without a proper depth of field. It's got 3 modes: classic, balloon mode, which makes it a little easier to hit things, and endless, if you want to torture yourself, I guess. And yeah, that's about all the surviving ones I could find that aren't from today's generation of YouTubers. Wow, wasn't that exciting? So now we have Tag with Ryan from Ryan's World. You know that exploited child slave on YouTube that has like 2 billion views on a video where he plays with toys in a pool for 5 minutes? His game is a half-decent Subway Surfer clone with the exact same 3-lane mechanic, same magnet power-up, same daily objectives, and you're chased by like a panda with a PewDiePie headset, which is probably a character from his videos, but I am not watching that shit to find out, dude. Because Ryan's parents haven't sucked enough money out of their child yet, the game uses pizza slices as currency, so you can do things like continue a run after accidentally drowning a small child, which will cost you like $2 to get 75 or $3 to get 200. You can get these from doing missions or sitting through Monster High doll ads though, so at first I was surprised that this one was one of the least scummy games that I played. But wait, it's coming. I was poking around in the menus, and I was honestly kind of surprised by how much content there is. There's like 2 million skins in the game, all of which you need pizza for, and a list of vehicles that cost like a shit ton of slices. And then on top of that, there are also suns to give you upgrades that cost even more, way more money. $2 for like double suns forever, $3 for a permanent head start, $8 for 3 random Ryan costumes so you can get Samu Ryan or Invisa Ryan, who I think is naked. Or what am I going to do? Actually play the game? This is another one that I honestly would have played for longer if they had used some of Ryan's $16 million a year to hire an actual composer instead of endlessly looping royalty-free music. Ryan also has an actual physical game on actual real consoles called Race with Ryan. But unfortunately playing that would require me to give Ryan's World more money. Kings of Never Leaving the YouTube homepage, Dude Perfect, have made a few games that have all since been taken down, all except for Endless Ducker, where you infinitely run through a building that is probably accurate to the size of their $100 million mansion, where the only 2 buttons you get are jump and slide, and either I am really bad at games, or you need to actually have the frame-perfect precision of one of the Dude Perfect members to not immediately die in 10 seconds. The Odd Ones Out has a game where your goal is just to hurl him as far as you can, which reminds me a ton of like all of those old games I used to play on like coolmathsgames.com. So I can imagine kids nowadays losing their minds over this one. Alright, and now for the ones that I can't play anymore, which unfortunately is where the majority of these are going to be. This video is going to be a graveyard at this point. With how popular Smosh was back in the day, with their comics and magazines and even a movie, it's not at all a surprise to me that they also released a whole bunch of mobile apps that you all can't play anymore. Like Super Head Exploder X, where the gimmick was like that you could take photos of people's faces to put in the game and blow up, which Nintendo ripped off for Face Raiders 2 years earlier. Their biggest one though was Food Battle the Game, which was one they crowdfunded $250,000 for. That hasn't been accessible since 2017, so rip to anyone that funded that one, I guess. There was also Jax Films' Be Funny Now. I mean, technically you can still download this one, but you can't play it, just for different reasons though, because you can't actually get a match. I mean, it does give you the option to have a private match, and I appreciate that the game thinks I can get 8 of my friends to be online at the same time. I did see he made like a video like late last year addressing why the game failed.
Number 8, No nudity.
And he mentions that like after the game like died, they sort of updated and revamped it a bit to make it more like Jackbox from my understanding. But the fact that I can't get a match now is probably not a good sign. H3H3 had a game called Ball Rider that was made by the same guys who did Tubbo Simulator. God, there's so many of these. There was a Fred game on Miniclip that just straight up won't load. Tobuscus also had a crowdfunded game called like Tobuscus Adventure Wizards that you can't get on iOS anymore, but you can still play on Steam, though with all of the Tobuscus branding removed, which is probably for the best. There was an app where you could endlessly shove meat into Harvey from Epic Mealtimes' mouth that has its own Wikipedia page, but not an available download link. Tomscar made a game with a bunch of other YouTubers in it called Cat Attack, which genuinely looks fucking awesome, but got taken off the App Store when the devs went bust. But thank God I can still play Morgz' Ultimate Challenge, a game that has proven to me that mobile game ads are not even fucking trying anymore. And yeah, that's about all of them. Wow, I did not expect this video to be so depressing. Brofist.